In this session, I'm going to show you how to take an Akiba backup and move it to your live site. I'm set up here at a host that uses cPanel, and this is pretty much the most popular control panel out there for most hosting these days. There are 5 main steps to moving your site to a live server. Number 1, take a backup. Number 2, upload the backup and kickstart.php from akibabackup.com to your new host. Number 3, set up an empty database. Number 4, run the installation program. And number 5, double check everything. So let's go through those 5 steps. We've already taken a backup of our site and downloaded it in a previous video. If you haven't done that, go ahead and install Akiba Backup on your site, take a backup, download it to your desktop. Step 2 is to upload those files and the kickstart.php from akibabackup.com. So click download, Akiba Kickstart, and Kickstart comes with a lot of different files, mostly language files. You don't need those language files if you're using this in English. All you need is the kickstart.php. If you need to do this in a different language, make sure you upload the language file that you need. So I'm going to grab Kickstart Core here, download that, and extract it so I just get kickstart.php, and that's really all I need. So I'm going to upload both of those files. I'm going to click on File Manager, and I'm going to upload both the site JPA, and this will take a few minutes on my system. I'm on a pretty slow upload, so I'm going to pause the video and come back. All right, so that's complete. I need to upload kickstart.php. This is a small file, so it'll go quickly. And those are the only 2 files that I actually need to upload. Again, the JPA that I downloaded and kickstart.php. The next step is to create a new database. This is actually usually very simple in most cPanels, and I just use the wizard. I'm going to create a database wizard, and in this case I'm just going to call it J3dbase. Click the next step. So create database user. I'm going to create a new user called J3admin here. I'm going to use the password generator here. Copy that because I'll need it later when I go to install my backup. And I'm going to say I've copied it. Now don't worry, this site won't be around for very long, so I don't mind you seeing those passwords. And create the user. Now I have to assign privileges here. I'm going to assign all privileges because this user needs to be able to create tables and drop tables on the fly. Click next step. And I've got my new user. So making sure I know my username, database name, and the password, that's critical. That's all I need to do as far as setting this site up. So now I just go to the site, hit refresh, and run kickstart.php. Akiba is telling me everything I need to know. Click here. There's the JPA file that it found. If I had used a password on it, I would need to put the password here. I'm going to write these files directly and click Start. Key thing here is to not close this window while it's extracting all of the information. You can see the path. So I'm ready to run the installer. Now remember, because this is technically a new Joomla site, I'm actually creating it in a new database. I'm restoring on a server with a different PHP version than the one I used to back up my site. Now this potentially is a major problem. These 2 versions of PHP, 5.4.10 and 5.3, are close enough. I don't think that's going to be a problem. But I'm going to scroll down here and make sure everything's in the green, which it should be. If it's not, you need to go back to your host before you finish this and make sure all of these things are set appropriately. That's pretty critical. I'm going to click Next. Now I put in the new information, the username, the password, the dbase, and click Next. It's restoring my database. Shouldn't take too long, depending on the speed of your server. And once that database is done, click Next. Make sure all of your settings here are correct. They usually don't need any changes at all here. You can change the super user settings here, but you don't need to. And click Next. And finally, remove the installation directory. Click View your site's front end, and here is My Cool Cafe completely restored on a live server. From here, I can just do a couple of things to finish up. You'll remember my username and password was admin and admin. Admin is the #1 username that receives denial of service attacks in Joomla and WordPress. So first off, we absolutely need to change that, and I probably should have changed it before we moved it. I'm going to click on User Manager. I'm going to quickly delete the training editor, the staff, and the other administrator simply because they were completely unsecure. I'm going to update my super user login name and my password to make them far more secure. I'm going to close that user out. The other thing I'm going to do is come over to Global Configuration, and I'm going to set up my SEO settings. Now to do that, I need to make sure that my htaccess file has been renamed on the new site as well. I'm going to come back over to my file manager, hit refresh. I'm going to delete the old htaccess that my host had put here before, and I'm going to rename htaccess.txt file to .htaccess. Now I can update my settings, use URL uwriting, add the page name after, and click Save and Close. When I look at my site, it's now, in this case, ntihs.com. And if I click on catering, you'll see that index.php is gone and the URLs are correctly human-friendly. Spending some time to go through your site to make sure everything still works is a really good idea. The other thing I usually do on a brand new site is I watch the redirect component. After about a week of moving a site over, you'll start to see 404 errors start to pop up, and you'll want to make sure that you redirect those appropriately. Speaking of which, you really do want to have your custom 404 page as well, and you can see how to do that right here in the Joomla documentation. There are some other components that might help you here, sh404, and some others that you might want to look at, and you can find all of those in the Joomla extension directory. That's it. You've moved your site from a local host or any other host to your brand new live host, and you are good to go.